My fiancée is Elle. Corporate royalty. And everyone in our circle knows she has a pretty boy assistant who hovers around her with an ambiguous, flirty energy. I've never let it bother me. But then, one day, the little manipulator decided to confront me directly. Caleb, he began, his voice dripping with condescending sympathy. Tori is an exceptional woman. She deserves the best. You're from a different generation. You can't give her the kind of excitement she needs. He paused for effect. Look, she still has some affection for you. You should leave on your own terms. Don't wait until it gets humiliating. Watching him put on this earnest performance, I just stayed silent. Then I turned my gaze toward the window, imagining a call to my fiancée. Remind me. I'd ask, how long would it take me to acquire your family's company? I was in a sleek, minimalist meeting room at her company headquarters, a cup of aromatic coffee sitting untouched on the table before me. I had no desire to drink it. I simply crossed one leg over the other, my hands clasped loosely over my knee. Mr. Davenport, do you understand what I'm saying? The young man sitting opposite me finally prodded. He wore a crisp, tailored suit, his hair meticulously styled to accentuate his handsome features. A pale blue stone was set in his tie clip, and onyx cufflinks gleamed under the recessed lighting. I could tell with a single glance that they were cheap imitations. The light they reflected was flat, nothing like the fire of real gems. By contrast, I was in a simple button-down and a pair of casual slacks, the picture of relaxed indifference. When I didn't respond, his agitation grew. Ms. Vance might be fond of you now, but a woman at her level will eventually need a partner who can provide more strategic support. You're just a civilian. You can't help her. At that, I raised an eyebrow. My fiancée, Victoria Vance, was the heiress to the Vance Corporation. We met at a get-together our parents arranged back when we were in high school. Nothing was ever said explicitly, but we both knew it was a matchmaking dinner. For people at our level, some things don't need to be spelled out. We went to the same university on the East Coast, and our relationship fell into place naturally. We got engaged 2 years ago while still abroad, and everyone in our world knew we were a done deal. The only difference was that my family's operations are based in New York. Out here on the West Coast, only the absolute top tier of L. Society knows who I really am. Leo Evans was a new assistant Tori hired last year. An Ivy League grad, sharp and good-looking, he quickly distinguished himself from the pack and became her executive assistant. As his time with Tori increased, he naturally found out about me, her fiancée. Tori, being beautiful and wealthy, has never lacked for admirers, and Leo was clearly one of them. But still, watching him talk on and on, I remained unbothered, my gaze fixed on the cityscape outside. The Vance Corporation Tower was right in the heart of Century City, offering a stunning view of the endless river of traffic below. 3 years ago, after Tori and I made our relationship official, her family received a massive capital injection from mine. Even this gleaming office tower was an upgrade. A nice one, too, though still a pale shadow of our headquarters in Manhattan. Seeing that I hadn't said a word, the smile on his face grew stiff. Mr. Davenport, Ms. Vance is extremely busy. She doesn't have time to see you right now. Why don't you head home? I'll be sure to let her know you stopped by. I glanced at my watch. He'd already wasted 10 minutes of my time. I was in a good mood today and had come alone, without my usual entourage, just to surprise my fiancée. I hadn't expected to run into this nuisance first. I stood up calmly. Make sure you tell her I was here. Leo let out a breath of relief and was about to smile and escort me out, but he froze when he turned around. Ms. Vance, what are you doing here? I turned and saw Tori standing in the doorway. She smiled and walked toward me. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? I gave her a half smile, my eyes drifting to Leo, who was rigid with tension beside us. Before I could speak, he jumped in. Ms. Vance, you were in a meeting. I didn't want to disturb you. It's my fault, I'm sorry. Tori ignored him completely, striding right up to me and flashing a brilliant smile. What's wrong? Just came by for some coffee, I said lightly. Her eyes swept over to the cup on the table. The aroma was pleasant enough, but she knew quality. It wasn't up to par. Her expression hardened as she turned to Leo. Did you make this? At Tori's sharp tone, the color drained from Leo's face. He stammered, almost in a panic. I saw some coffee pods in the break room, so I used one of those. I didn't know Mr. Davenport wouldn't like this blend. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. He kept glancing nervously at Tori, terrified she was about to explode. Tori just let out a humorless laugh. She turned back to me, her voice apologetic. My mistake. I haven't trained him properly. Let's go to my office. I gave a non-committal nod. As we left the room, I caught Leo's reflection in the glass partition. His face was twisted in a grimace of pure resentment, his eyes practically shooting flames at my back. What put you in such a good mood today? Coming all the way here to see me by yourself. Once inside her spacious corner office, Tori closed the door behind us. She followed a half step behind me to the sofa, then sat down and took my hand, giving it a gentle shake with a playful, girlish charm. You should have called. I would have come down to get you. I chuckled. If I called ahead, I would have missed out on that excellent instant coffee, wouldn't I? Tori's face flushed, a mix of anger and embarrassment. I'm sorry, she murmured. Coffee wasn't exactly a staple in our household, but when the mood struck, we couldn't be without it. Which is why my father owned a private coffee estate in Panama and another in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica. Only the absolute finest, top-grade beans from the annual harvest were ever sent to our homes. Forget instant coffee. Even beans of a slightly lesser quality would never be served to me. He's been with you for over 6 months. How is he still so clueless? I asked softly. Tori snuggled up against my side, a faint, elegant fragrance wafting from her. My fingers began to idly toy with a lock of her curled hair. The perfume was a birthday gift I'd given her when she turned 20. Simply because I'd once commented that I liked the scent, she had worn it exclusively ever since. Over time, I'd grown accustomed to it. She didn't react to my touch, just wrapped her arms quietly around my waist. Young guys like that, they get delusions of grandeur. But his work ethic is decent, so I kept him around. He's been on a few business trips with me, got promoted to executive assistant. Now he thinks he's a cut above everyone else. Her tone was utterly dismissive, as if she were talking about a stray cat she'd taken in, not her right-hand man. My hand paused for a fraction of a second before resuming its slow, rhythmic motion. I looked down at the beautiful face nestled against me, a smile playing on my lips. It seems my darling fiancé is just too gorgeous. That's why you have so many suitors flocking to you. She looked up, startled, then broke into a radiant smile. You're being silly. Those people come and go. I let them buzz around, but have I ever really made you angry? Her tone was bright and teasing, but underneath it, I detected a carefully buried layer of caution. I gently tucked a stray piece of hair behind her ear. No, you haven't, and that's good. Tori nuzzled her cheek against my hand. Since you made time to come see me today, may I have the honor of inviting my dear Mr. Davenport to dinner tonight? She gave me a playful wink, a world away from the cold, brilliant CEO the public saw. Right now, she was more like a cuddly, affectionate kitten. A corner of my mouth turned up. Of course. Inside Astra, the rooftop restaurant overlooking the glittering expanse of Los Angeles, a waiter diligently pulled out my chair. I dislike dining with strangers, so any place I frequent knows to book out the entire floor for me in advance. Tori sat across from me, her smile radiant, reflecting the shimmering neon lights of the city below. She looked exceptionally gentle and beautiful. I swirled a red wine in my glass and took a small sip. A delicate fruitiness blossomed on my palate. Across the table, Tori did the same, then spoke. Last time we spoke, your uncle mentioned the Austin development project. Has there been a final decision on the planning phase? The Austin project was something my family had initiated around Christmas last year. Tori had been celebrating with us, so of course she'd heard about it. Ever since, she had been aggressively pursuing a way for her company to get involved. It was a massive pie, after all. Securing even a small slice would set her up for years to come. Maybe. I haven't been following it, I said casually. It was just a multi-billion-dollar project. Hardly something that occupied my thoughts. I set my wine glass down with a hint of disappointment. This wine is lacking something. Tori immediately put her glass down as well, her smile gentle. That's my fault. I should have planned better. I should have restocked the cellar here after we finished the last case. She knew exactly what I meant. I don't consider myself a spoiled heir, but I am particular about what I eat, wear, and experience. Anything that falls short of exceptional barely registers, let alone passes my lips. It's fine, I said with a placating smile. Let's eat. You've been working all day. I'd hate for you to be hungry. A faint blush colored her cheeks. You and your sweet talk. We ate in comfortable silence, an unspoken rule in our world. Just as we were finishing our main course, a commotion came from the entrance. A moment later, a figure strode into our private dining area, clutching a stack of files. It was Leo Evans. He had a look of urgency on his face. Ms. Vance, there's a problem with the Hong Kong merger. It needs your immediate attention. My hand, holding a steak knife, paused mid-slice. Tori put down her fork and knife, her brow furrowed in annoyance. We'll let you in here. Leo flinched, as if he'd never imagined she would speak to him that way. He glanced at me, then looked back at her with a wounded expression. Ms. Vance, you told me that any news regarding this deal had to be brought to you immediately. I was just worried you'd be anxious, so I brought it right over. He seemed to remember I was there and turned to me, his face a mask of apology. I'm so sorry, Mr. Davenport. I didn't mean to interrupt your dinner. As if terrified of my reaction, he took a hasty step forward and bowed his head. In his rush, his arm knocked over my wine glass. The deep red liquid spilled across the white tablecloth, and a few drops splattered onto my shirt. In an instant, I saw the color drain from Tori's face. Leo's face went bone white. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mr. Davenport, I am terribly sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I'll compensate you. Please don't be angry. Only a few drops had hit my chest, blossoming like crimson flowers on the pristine white fabric. I didn't get angry. Instead, I laughed a low, humorless sound and lifted my gaze to meet his. Compensate me. My expression didn't change. I didn't say another word, but the entire atmosphere around me shifted, growing heavy and cold. Tori was by my side in a second. Are you okay? I shook my head, still silent. Tori turned to Leo, her voice sharp with fury. What do you think you're doing? You're getting more and more out of line. You mess up, and you don't even know how to apologize properly. She was berating him, but I knew what she was really doing, trying to protect him. If she were truly furious, she would have had him thrown out without a second thought. In fact, she wouldn't have had to say anything at all. A quiet word to the right people, and Leo Evans would never work in this town, or any other for that matter, ever again. Leo, for his part, looked on the verge of tears. Ms. Vance, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I was just in a rush to get you the files. You told me to, yourself. I was only trying to follow your instructions. He paused, then looked at me. Mr. Davenport, I truly am sorry. Please forgive me. I will absolutely pay for the shirt. His sincerity was almost convincing. He looked genuinely remorseful. My eyes drifted down to the red stains on my white shirt, and I let out a soft chuckle. Can you afford it? My clothes are all bespoke, tailored by artisans my family retains exclusively. We own over a dozen silk farms, for the sole purpose of producing fabric for our family's wardrobes. We have a peculiar habit. No article of clothing is ever worn more than twice. To outsiders, it seems outrageously extravagant. In our world, it's simply normal. This shirt, as simple as it looked, was woven from the finest pure silk and cut by a master tailor. There wasn't a single stray thread or uncomfortable seam anywhere on it. To put a price on it, you'd be looking at around $50,000. And since it was part of a set, the slacks and shoes were now ruined as well. The entire outfit was north of $100,000. Pay for it? Could he really afford it? Those four simple words made Leo's expression collapse. A storm of emotions, calculation, panic, indignation flashed across his face. He glanced at Tori, then back at me, before finally lowering his head, his voice thick with a sort of martyred pride. I know you and Ms. Vance have been together for years, and you have things I can only dream of. But I've worked hard for everything I have. Whether this shirt costs $10,000 or $100,000, I will pay you back. He took a deep breath, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Mr. Davenport, I am truly sorry. But right now, all I want to do is help Ms. Vance solve a problem. It wasn't intentional. Please forgive me. Listening to his melodramatic, manipulative speech, I almost laughed out loud. Before I could, Tori spoke first. What are you doing, standing here running your mouth? Get out. Leo's eyes widened in shock, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. But then I saw Tori turn to me, her own eyes filled with a soft, placating warmth. He's just an idiot who works for me. Don't be angry. I'll handle him. I looked at the half-eaten meal on my plate and instantly lost my appetite. I've been in a good mood, thinking I'd spend a nice evening with my fiancée. My schedule was about to get hectic, and I knew I wouldn't have another chance for a while. But this little incident had soured everything. My good mood had evaporated, and now, even dinner felt like a chore. I looked over at Tori. Her eyes flickered, and she forced a smile, her voice taking on a gentle, almost pleading tone. If you don't like it here, we can go somewhere else. Okay. I could practically feel Leo's shock radiating from across the room. Shock at Tori's deference to me. Shock at my complete dismissal of him. No, it's fine. I'm not in the mood anymore, I said flatly, pushing my chair back to stand up. A flicker of panic crossed Tori's face. Then, let's just go home. I can make you my special tiramisu. How's that sound? Her voice was steady again, her smile more genuine. You always said you loved my tiramisu. I even learned a new trick from our pastry chef. I'll add a little hazelnut liqueur this time. It'll be even better. She held my hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. Where was the powerful, ice-cold CEO now? In my presence, she was like a young girl, anxiously waiting for her boyfriend's approval. Leo's jaw was practically on the floor. I was silent for a moment. Tori's voice became even softer, a coaxing whisper. I also made that mousse cake you like. It's too late for you to go back to your hotel now, so why don't you just stay at my place? You can be the first to try my new recipe, okay? I looked down at her, seeing the genuine anxiety in her eyes. I finally let out a sigh and gently stroked her hair. Okay, she was, after all, my fiancée, and our two families were intertwined in business ventures that were impossible to separate. Even if I was annoyed, I had to give her some face. If the dog you keep isn't well behaved, you replace it. There was no need to get worked up over a creature like that. The moment I said yes, the tension in Tori's shoulders eased. She linked her arm through mine and started walking toward the exit. Good thing I keep a set of your clothes in my house, she said, her tone deliberately cheerful, trying to lighten the mood. I'm going to show off my skills tonight. I promise, after you taste my dessert, you won't want anyone else's ever again. My eyes twinkled, and I teased back. Really? You didn't slip a love potion in there, did you? She gave my arm a playful tap. Don't be ridiculous. If I were going to use a potion on you, it would be a truth serum. I couldn't help but laugh as we walked to the elevator. Tori pressed the button, and as the doors opened, I glanced back at Leo. I'll have my assistant send you the invoice, I said coolly. A 6-figure bill. I can't wait to see how you handle that. As the elevator doors slid shut, I saw him standing there, frozen, a look of utter bewilderment on his face. He couldn't seem to process why someone Tori had seemed to value so highly had become so utterly insignificant in my presence. My fingers idly played with the ends of Tori's hair as I watched the floor numbers descend. A guppy, trapped in its tiny bowl, trying to comprehend the ocean. We arrived at Tori's villa in Beverly Hills. The housekeeper had already prepared everything. The oversized tub in the master bath was filled with water at the perfect temperature, surrounded by scented candles and a bottle of wine. I tossed my stained clothes directly into the trash bin. Sinking into the tub, I let out a long breath as the warm water enveloped me. The air was filled with a soft, soothing aroma. The fizzing of a bath bomb was a pleasant white noise that calmed my frayed nerves. When I emerged, clean and robed, Tori was already perched on the chaise lounge in the bedroom, a hairdryer in her hand. Why do you always come out with your hair dripping wet? She chided gently, patting the spot next to her. I sat down, and she began to dry my hair, her touch soft and careful. I closed my eyes, enjoying the sensation. When my hair was almost dry, she asked quietly, "Are you heading back to New York tomorrow?" Yes. This trip was just a stopover. I'd only dropped by because I was in a good mood, a mood that was now long gone. I'll go back with you this time, she said, her voice as soft as a cloud. It's been a while since I've seen your parents. It's a good opportunity to visit. I reached up and caught her hand. She obediently turned off the hairdryer. I looked up at her exquisite face, a knowing smile on my lips. Can you bear to part with your little assistant? Tori raised an eyebrow. You said it yourself. He's just an assistant. He certainly doesn't compare to my darling fiancé. She put a slight emphasis on the word assistant. He's good-looking, knows how to play the game, and he's competent enough, so I kept him around. If you don't like him, he could be gone tomorrow. I knew she wasn't joking, but I could also tell she was reluctant to let Leo go entirely. Otherwise, she wouldn't be asking me. She would have already fired him. Let him stay if you want, I said, my tone indifferent. He was just a plaything, after all. In our world, it wasn't uncommon to keep a pretty pet around for amusement. As long as they provided a little entertainment and knew their place, it was fine. However, thinking about Leo's performance today, I found it almost funny. He probably thought Tori and I had a normal relationship, that he could be the underdog who swoops in and wins the girl. He believed that with enough effort, any wall could be torn down. I almost wanted to tell him, some walls aren't just walls. They're fortress ramparts, and you're trying to chip away at them with a garden trowel. You're the best, baby, Tori murmured, nestling into my arms. Her delicate fingers traced the line of my jaw. I just thought he was amusing, so I decided to play along for a bit. I caught her hand and brought it to my lips, kissing her fingertips. You know my boundaries. Play is play, but if she ever did something that truly disgusted me, this engagement would be over. Tori stiffened for a moment, then wrapped her arms around my neck more tightly, planting a soft kiss on my chin. She whispered against my skin, her voice breathy. Baby, my body and my heart, they're all yours. Her hand moved restlessly against my cheek, wanting to prove how much I love you. After a night of passion, I woke to find Tori still curled up in my arms. Her dark hair was spread across the pillow like seaweed. She clung to my waist, seemingly deep in a peaceful sleep, but the slight unevenness of her breathing gave her away. She'd been awake for a while. "If you're awake, get up," I chuckled, giving her nose a gentle pinch. She didn't move at first, but when I held on a bit longer, she finally swatted my hand away. "Isn't this the part where the handsome prince is supposed to kiss the sleeping princess awake?" She pouted. "Why is everything backward with you?" I leaned down and kissed her forehead. "All right, Your Highness." She giggled and returned the kiss. After we'd showered and dressed, we went downstairs. The housekeeper had a full breakfast spread ready. "Good morning, Mr. Caleb," she said, bowing respectfully. I gave a slight nod. My own assistant was already waiting discreetly by the door. "Sir, the jet is on standby at Van Nuys. We can take off whenever you're ready. We're scheduled to land in New York around 1 p.m. Your time. You have a board meeting at 3 p.m. to review the last quarter's financials. It should conclude by 5:10. Your evening is clear, but your parents expect you for dinner at the estate." He recited my schedule flawlessly. I took a sip of milk and picked up a piece of toast, not saying a word. Just then, the doorbell rang. The housekeeper hurried to answer it and froze when she saw who was there. A moment later, I heard that familiar, irritating voice. "Is Ms. Vance awake? I'm here to brief her on a work matter." I paused, the toast halfway to my mouth. A part of me was amused. I've been in this world my whole life. I've seen every kind of person imaginable. But this level of persistent, clueless audacity was still something to behold. As a man, I could almost understand him. A boss that beautiful and powerful, who wouldn't be infatuated, especially since, in his eyes, I was probably just some parasite living off Tori's success. The thought was so absurd, I almost laughed. The heir to the Davenport fortune, reduced to a common boy toy. My assistant glanced at me, then quickly lowered his head, his expression unreadable. Leo stepped into the foyer, and the moment he saw me sitting at the dining table, his face soured. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. My assistant stiffened and took a half step forward, ready to intervene, but I waved him off. "Why shouldn't I be here?" I put down my toast, looking at him with mild amusement. "If I remember correctly, this is my fiancée's house." It wasn't exactly shocking for an engaged couple to be intimate. My meaning was crystal clear. Leo understood it too. His face contorted with anger and jealousy. He looked like he wanted to say something, but managed to choke it back. He glanced at the housekeeper and my assistant, then seemed to steel himself, striding toward me. "I admit I was out of line yesterday," he said, his voice low and intense. "But $150,000 for a shirt? Are you insane? And do you have any idea that because you stopped Ms. Vance from returning to the office, you cost the company $80 million? I could see my assistant staring at Leo as if he'd just seen a ghost. He truly could not comprehend how anyone could have the nerve to speak to me this way. Even the housekeeper looked stunned before she quickly bowed her head and focused on a particularly interesting spot on the floor. I just watched Leo, morbidly curious to see what he would do next. I've met stupid people before, but never anyone this monumentally, suicidally stupid. Ambition isn't a flaw. In this world, a lack of ambition is a death sentence. But his fatal error was having ambition that wildly outstripped his intelligence and perception. He had no understanding of the game he was trying to play, no idea who he could afford to cross. Even if, by some miracle, a person like that managed to climb his way to the top, he'd never be able to shake off the stench of the gutter. "I'm aware," I said calmly. Of course I was aware. I'd orchestrated it. A small punishment for Tori for allowing this disobedient little pet to run wild. Leo looked as though I'd just confessed to a murder. He glanced nervously toward the staircase, then back at me, his voice trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "You? How could you?" His face was a mask of horror as his body swayed slightly. The gears were turning in his head, trying to piece together who I really was. I picked up my glass and took a slow sip of milk. Excellent quality. Very fresh. Leo gritted his teeth, his expression shifting again. He seemed to settle on a new tactic, the pitiable victim. "Even if yesterday was all my fault, you can't do this. This is too much." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my assistant's jaw twitch. He shot Leo another look, this one a mixture of pity and awe at the man's sheer capacity for self-destruction. The housekeeper had quietly slipped out of the room. "Mr. Davenport, you're so high up you could never understand what it's like for people like me, struggling to get by. To you, $150,000 is just a shirt. To me, that's 3 years of my salary," he pleaded. "If you have a problem with me, fine, I'll take it. But why did you have to make the company lose 80 million? Ole Miss. Vance, think of you now. He paused dramatically, about to launch into another tirade, but a cool, detached voice cut through the air from the top of the stairs. Oh, why don't you tell me what I should think? Leo whipped around, seeing Tori standing there. A look of elation washed over his face. He rushed toward the staircase. He shot a final, resentful look at me, then lowered his voice to a conspiratorial whisper to her. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have interrupted you two yesterday. If only I hadn't gone to the restaurant. Tori's gaze went straight to me, completely ignoring Leo. Her expression was perfectly normal as she walked over and planted a soft kiss on my cheek. You've barely touched your breakfast. Is it not to your liking? She asked, her voice warm. She then glanced toward the kitchen. I can make you an omelet, if you'd like. I smiled faintly at her. No need. I have to leave soon, not much time. She tilted her head, her tone turning into a playful pout. So soon? I thought you said you'd stay for breakfast. And I made that tiramisu for you last night. It's perfect today. I was going to pack some up for your mother. As she spoke, she sat down beside me, taking my hand and refusing to let go. Your mom always said she loves the strawberry one I make. This batch is all strawberry, plus a hazelnut one for you. I smiled, but before I could reply,